play guitar in our group for several months, but then he failed. And
he told that Mamonov showed him first his his song.
Yes, he was the first guy who said to Peter, "You must continue your first experience." And it was his contact with Hungarians, and he and his wife, Artyom and his wife Sveta, were in one team. We were together in Hungary. And then we came, and then he found out for us contact with Brian, and he
introduced us.
He introduced me to Brian. I remember I think it was 87. The first contact with Brian was 87, and we became friends. I invited Brian to the exhibition of Pavel Filonov. Pavel Filonov was, as an artist, he was banned in absolutely unknown painter. And the first exhibition was, I think, only 88. Not only musicians were in the underground, but the best painter. He's a real genius who died in 42 in Leningrad. Yes. And I remember the reaction of Brian Ina when I invited him to Tretyakov Gallery in this exhibition. He was so surprised, and he said, "We must have his picture on your album." And we tried to find out the contacts with Russian Museum, who was the owner of the rights on Filonov, but they refused. No contacts with the English, no, with the enemies, with NATO. It was a very long story.
And how Brian Emil come to the idea to be the producer of your album? Because I think this is the only Russian band he worked with.
Yes, he worked.
Nowy kompozytor.
Yes, новый compositor. Then Jivan Gasparyan, Duduk musician, the biggest star of Armenia. It was a Soviet
I know,
Union.
but he's just very authentic.
Yes,
pure.
but Brian Ina found out there's very several artists, not only rock music, and with the rock music, Opal, his small company, had contacts with Avia, Antona Dasinsky, and we were invited to London, 2 bands, Zukimu and Avia, and performed together several concerts in London, then in several. We had a tour in London.
Do you remember what year?
It was 89 and 90. Or no, 88 and 89. Then 90 was the end of our group. Brian tried to find all interesting music from Russia. Vysotsky, Barslachov, he knew everything. He was very serious to find the most interesting. That's why Mamonov, he was the most interesting person in our band.
So karaoke was before you in UK,
Yes, it was a little bit 1 year before. I remember the date. I always repeat the story. I think it was in 1986 when we were sitting, Boris Grebenshikov, Sergei Kuryokhin, and me in my kitchen, and Boris Grebenshikov and Sergei were sure that Gorbachev will change the world. And
96?
86. They were absolutely sure that they практически поверили в него.
They trusted him.
They trusted him. I was a little bit suspicious about the sincerity of Gorbachev, but they were absolutely sure that everything will change and they will be big stars in the West. And the life showed that they were right. became big stars in the West together.
And what about comparing to that situation? So now, the situation of now here in Russia with music.
I think the answer is very complicated.
Just for example, Brian Eno was asked the same question when he still used to come to Russia, and he's interested in Russian art and music, and he's been asked, okay, so, and he told that he's coming because here in Russia he finds something more interesting. But he told that after the things, the hope of the time of the perestroika and that kind of art didn't just come through. So he couldn't name a real big Russian acts of today in any kind of.
Yes, it's yes, because the society is disappointed in the big changes, because capitalism is not a good idea for Russia. It's not a very good idea. That's why people and musicians and poets are not in a good mood.
So they need to be oppressed.
Yes.
To
now they see that there is no.
They are oppressed in a different way.
It was a very romantic society. Soviet Union was a very romantic society, because some people were sure that it will be communism and everything will be okay, socialism. But artists were against these ideas, but they were sure that it would be the capitalism and it would be freedom and all both were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they have this certain kind of freedom which means leave me alone.
Yes.
And try to survive. That's
what about now? So the question is, why now? How is it? The talents are still born, I think.
Yes.
Or not, but there are no such strong artistic acts, or maybe they are, you know better.
I think the thing is that in America, especially in Great Britain, show business is so big machine, as a serious machine. It has several models of развития, several models and levels. That's why we have some models for underground band and how they can be big stars. There is a models. A few months ago, 1 month ago, I heard Little Jimmy, I think, the band from Great Britain, Little Jimmy. They are coming to be big stars, but they played very very strong rock and roll with influence from the 60s. In Russia, such band have no chances, absolutely no chances, because it's very no new ideas, but very good compilation of Doors and Led Zeppelin, Beatles. In one song, you can find 5 influences, and for me it was an interesting mix, but. In Russia, only something serious in lyrics can change your career. Good musicians in Russia не ценятся.
Okay.
The quality of music is still doesn't work. for such musician as Jimi Hendrix in Russia, it's impossible. He might go to the West.
Okay, but are they serious lyrics today, saying important things for today as they were in 60s, 70s, 80s?
I think no. No, the biggest stars are the stars of 80s. Shevchuk and Barzikin and even Vasily Shumov. Some new musicians were born, so like Noise MC. Yes, there are some interesting figures in rap music. Noise MC on the на границе, on the border between rap and rock music. Then Vasily Oblomov. I'm talking about new names for the last years. Vasily Oblomov, Noise MC. There is interesting and very rebel was nowadays. Break.
Там, по-моему, круглый квадрат, там сколько? 2 ключа или вообще 4 ключа?
Бартов.
Если отыщешь, скажешь, что уже мне надо больше.
Михаил Барзыкин, телевизор. 2 years ago, he made a record, Deja Vu, very good. I think the best record for the last year with a very rebel songs, and they were banned on our radio. When I invited him to my radio program, and the director of my radio station said that he fought for 4 days. It wasn't the direct, not the live program, but recorded, and then on Sunday it goes. And the director of my radio station said 4 days I was thinking to allow
Or
not, because he was afraid. It was a very rebel songs about Gazprom, about Matviyenko, about Putin.
But is he naming this?
Yes. It's very direct. He's the most direct artist.
So is it a bit like history is repeating? So I mean,
Yes.
so close circle. But now it's just like the state doesn't have to push it. It's like everybody knew it before that you shouldn't do this. So
I must tell you, today at night you can write the numbers of my radio station. You can hear it at night. It will be the repeating of my last program from Sunday, and it's an interesting. It may be an interesting talk to you and music for your program. The guest of my program this Sunday was Roman Suslov. Roman Suslov, the leader of one of the most interesting groups of 80s. Вежливый отказ. Roman Suslov. And it was for 1 hour we were talking.
And what's the name of the
99 and 6.
99.
99,6. 99 FM.
And at what time?
0 часов.
Ага.
0 часов.
Okay.
Midnight. Finam FM, the name of my radio station, Finam FM. And if you have no time, Finam FM.
you might have recorded it as well.
Yes.
You can make it accessible. Yeah, are you doing it every week?
Every week. Yes, for 2 years and but now the directors of our radio station changed. That's why in June I finished.
And you're still writing for magazines? Nothing more?
No. Only TV or radio. And that's why I remembered about my talk to this guy. 22 years ago, he left Moscow and became village person. he organized a horse farm, выращивал лошадей, and became a big specialist in this. And we were talking about life in the village. I said, the leader of my band, 22 years, Peter Mamonov, left Moscow and lived in the village. And you, why? He said, I don't want to have contacts with the modern life, Roman, and Peter too. And I said that Peter built a big zabor,
Fence?
Yes, Peter built a very big fence in his village. And I'm sure I told to Roman that you have no fence. He said, yes, you are right, I have no fence because there is no people. I live 200 kilometers from Moscow, and when I started to go through all region, it's Tulskaya gubernia. The capital of this region is Tula, small city. For 200 kilometers, I met only 2 people here, because very few people are living in the village. And he said some people came from Caucasus, and he had hopes that these guys will live and to organize life with them. But after the starting of Chechen war, Chechen people came back. Nobody lived.
What is Mamonov doing?
Sometimes he's filming, but not filming, but as an actor. And I have a film. Last film he took part. It's Shapito Show. I think very interesting. The director is Sergei Laban, and the name of this film, Shapito Show, and it showed underground life of our days, modern life. I think you must see Shapito Show, the most interesting film about.
Is it on DVD available?
And you can buy it, but maybe I have it.
And what role is Mamonov is playing?
It's one of the role, not main role. There is no main role. There is 4 novels. And even the last novel is about Виктор Цой, как сказать, дублер Виктор Цой, дублер. Про такого
Дублер Виктор Цой.
Да, о том, как, так сказать, шоу-бизнес использует легенды прошлых лет.
Interesting.
Yes, it's interesting. And Mamonov is. There is 2 parts. It's a very big film. 4 novels. First 2 novels are without stars, and the last 2 novels are one Mamonov and Viktor Tsoi, a young guy who is playing in Viktor Tsoi. And yes, I think it's an important film for you. And it was the Sergei Laban Shapito Show.
What do you think about Mamonov? What he became? Because I've seen on YouTube a short documentary about him, and I think what Greveshnikov said about him is very correct. That now we are seeing how he became from из юродивого святого, from a crazy clone to a saint person. Do you think, I feel personally like one of the ways where these guys from 80s can develop, if we're talking about development?
He became a Christian adept, and he repeated all Christian lessons from the most important Christian authors. He read all these books of the first monks, and nothing new.
So, but while talking already about material, is one of the ideas I have besides doing the book is because already started in a way to build up an archive
Алло, привет.
of subcultures from the East, to say. So like, because what I did here in this book is like we compiled stuff from 2 CDs, stuff which was only available, some of the stuff was even not available at all, on cassettes in a GDR. And it's kind of funny because there are a lot of projects with members of Rammstein today, so what they did in the 80s. Rammstein, yeah.
You know that there is an interesting story. One of the most
Алло, привет.
interesting figures of Leningrad underground life was Andrei Tropilo, who recorded in
The
his
first
studio.
aquarium man
Oh.
is important.
He recorded, I think, Alisa, Timo,
Давай я тебе накопаю.
and he was a guest of my radio program.
Хорошо,
And
отправляй,
it
после
was a
этого
talk
пока
about
успеем, пока
the group from Arkhangelsk. Облачный край. Облачный край, это
Все, давай, я тебе скидываю пока.
переведите. Звали его...
Cloudy place.
Yes. The best group of hard rock of early 80s.
Да.
And the leader of this band died 2 years ago, Sergei Bagayev. And Andrei Tropilo told me a very interesting story. When in the end of 80s he came to
Пока планирую до вечера.
Berlin, maybe
Часов
Berlin,
до...
maybe not Berlin, another.
Вот, в любом случае, если ты
Germantown.
меня там где-то так видишь, что я там можно его
He had a contact
оставить,
with
у меня
young guys from
в принципе,
Rammstein.
я тут.
And he gave them these records of Облачный край, Sergei Bagayev. And they were so influenced by this by these recordings from Arkhangelsk that he said, "Oh, you must know that Rammstein took something interesting from my friend." And I think it's true. He was much older than Rammstein. When Rammstein recorded their first
94, 93.
so
But they were in all these different, I can show you some early
maybe
pictures of them.
maybe it's his fantasy.
Maybe it's
he's very
Maybe he was the guy before he formed Rammstein.
I think it's his fantasy, but he told me this
That's a nice
story.
fantasy. So this is one of these tapes, like Flake is the keyboard player of Rammstein. So this is one of these early tapes, and you can see like this the guitar player of Rammstein. And this could be
Who wrote this book?
I compiled it. So I'm the editor. So there are a lot of like essays, interviews, and stuff like that. I don't know if there would be a Russian publisher interested, because I mean Rammstein could open the door in a way, like early works of Rammstein.
I think I have one family contacts with whom will be maybe very interesting. She is a poet, and he is an editor, and they have their own publishing, small publishing, and they're very big intellectuals, Oleg and Ksyusha, and they organized a congress about the theme of war. What mean war nowadays with many foreigners, philosophers, and I think
Хорошо.
maybe it was not older than you.
No, 42.
Oh no, they're the same age. Yeah, but we are young. Sure, 30.
I sleep a lot.
It's okay, like my son.
Well, so this is the question: how to get to all this material, which is like all the stuff which was issued only on tape, circulating as Zamistad's product.
Write the name of the published record label, Geometria. It's a record label.
Geometria.
So are there any like I mean, does Troitsky have an archive? Like, did he collect everything? Or?
No.
So
But they have.
All right. You also have. I think.
Huh?
You also have a lot of things.
I gave my iPad to them.
the reason why.
I gave them.
10.
They published
Алло.
and republished. They republished many archive releases of 80s.
Alright. Geometry.
Geometry.
Чего у тебя нет исходника? С чем сравнивать?
Yes.
А в мегаплане нету?
Folder. You will come
Ну, она же выкладывала мне для верстки.
Because I also could be interested in like doing exchange of materials.
You can do it.
Because what I would like to do is like to build up an archive for myself. Maybe helping to get stuff even published for the West. So that's one idea.
Мне трудно
And another concept I will give you.
сказать про
There is another label. This label is a выход. Like a name of the St. Petersburg group. Сергей Селюнин. It's one of the most interesting underground band. Выход.
Like
The way out.
way out.
Way out.
Выход. It's a group from St. Petersburg, Sergei Селюнин, and the name of Moscow recording, very small recording label. They specialized on the underground, old releases. It will be, and Oleg Kovriga, his name.
We are meeting him
now.
today.
Oleg
We
Kovriga.
are meeting him
Ah,
today.
that's good.
He's one of them. And his friend,
Алло.
Evgeny Gapiev,
А вы еще смотрите?
he's a man who
А, все?
working with archives. Oleg is active figure who took a lot of records with him and sell his production. And Evgeny is a specialist in archives, and especially with my archives he worked with.
Alright.
And
Great.
Evgeny, on another hand, is a member of specialist in geometry. He worked with geometry in one hand. What? And I think these two persons are very important for you, very interesting.
We are meeting Oleg Kovriga with Andrei Suchilin.
Andrei Suchilin, he's a musician. He's a guitarist. Yes. I
Алло,
remember what was the name of his group.
Дома Жор.
And many others.
И
I must call to Kovriga.
А на второй полосе?
Yeah,
That would be
great.
great. He called me yesterday. You know that now they have big idea to make a special concert dedicated for 25 years of the great underground festival in Podolsk.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was 87.
We were just talking today because just by chance I found his recordings on YouTube.
Мне кажется, что
Actually, because I was looking for some recordings of Yotemkai, this punk band from
Yes.
Tallinn I really like, and I found that, and then I saw, wow, there are all these recordings, the whole festival is online. Brigades and everybody. So.
But they still doesn't finish their work. They must, and they want to publish a very good collection of rich. Алло, привет, Коврига. Я вот тут говорю, ты говорить можешь, удобно? А то я вчера не мог. Вот, я тут говорю с немцами, которые с тобой сегодня встречаются, которые собирают. Да, вот я с ними разговариваю, так что ты им там точно расскажешь. Вот. Слушай, а ты-то мне что звонил?
I need some fresh batteries.
What kind of batteries?
This is R6.
What kind? Because I can give you batteries. I have.
А где вы будете?
Shall I give you?
Yeah, great. Just this Amazon tea.
Ну, поговорим с ними.
How many?
Two.
Там будут играть только те люди, которые играли в Подольске? Или кто-то из молодых?
the funny story about this Rammstein guy is that the guitar player, his parents had a dacha, like a small garden, next to the one of my grandparents. And
Ясно, а та желтый почтальон играет? Цемент играл.
and they
Будут играть?
they're both into Russian language.
Хорошо,
He's
поговорю я.
the father's a professor and she's a
15 сентября, поговорю с Гариком, давай.
scientist as
Все.
well.
А деньги вы платить
And
будете?
that's why
Деньги там как?
he was for a certain time in Leningrad, so and he speaks a bit Russian. So whenever they are in Russia, he's
Ну, мне кажется, да.
doing the interviews in his funny Russian and so stuff like that. And so
Ну
that's,
ладно, скажу Гарику, пусть там сам будет.
so they have a very special
So this
relationship.
is how he gets the inspiration.
So that's how these things really work together. Especially this core of like these guys from Rammstein and the early band of them, Feeling B, they were also in Poland on tour and had strong relationships to Polish bands, and even they covered bands from Poland doing like English, German versions of from a band called Armia, one of my favorites. You might have seen them because they Armia they performed on the same Machawka festival where you were. I think the other day.
It was a big band from Great
With
Britain.
a French horn player. Like there were only a few punk
It's a
bands.
Polish band?
A Polish band, Armia.
I remember the very big
A New Model Army performed.
new model army with the
Alright. So that was the same day actually. So maybe you performed on one boat with Armia.
But you see when you are
Yeah, of course, you're excited in the backstage and
You were drinking in the backstage, I think.
But are there any like pictures from these days? No.
pictures from some photos from Zvuki Mu in Budapest I have, but not on stage.
Alright.
Only where Zvuki Mu was sitting.
But maybe we
Can you
try to find
Can
it.
you? I will try to find.
But it was a very good filming. I believe it was a very good filming. Yeah, I think it's possible to find.
Can you find that photos you have?
I can try, but I'm sure filming. Somebody told me that the filming of Zvuki Mu performance in Bulgaria was great. Somebody saw it.
But it was made by Hungarians.
Yes.
I will find it for you because I know the organizers.
Because maybe I had it 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but I don't remember.
Could you send me, because I'm writing for a Hungarian newspaper, article about our visit here in Russia, and I will write about that concert of Zvuki Mu in that time, because I know that many people remember that. And
It was Ginger Baker Air Force was ought to play, but Ginger Baker, I remember the story. He was ought to play after Perubu, but he had the problems with drugs, and he failed. He couldn't come.
Because he couldn't get any drugs.
Yes,
or-
no,
that was the problem.
He got.
He got
This was too much.
Because you know the stories about Nico on tour in Eastern
Yes.
Europe. So like when these poor guys in Czechoslovakia, they just arrived and told, come on, you have to get some heroin now. So
The same
get
story.
out on the street. So
The same story was
Whoa.
the same story
And they
with
get
the first visit with Nick Cave to Moscow.
Oh, yeah.
After his first concert, he was running on the central streets and asking for cocaine and some other things. He found out, and on the second concert in St. Petersburg, he was absolutely zero. No Nick Cave on stage. It was something terrible.
so maybe what he found was not so
Yeah,
pure.
just some smashed tablets or something like this.
Okay, if you have a card, you can give me your
I'll give you a
or
card.
contacts, and with your email I will send.
So please, for me it will be important to get it
Okay.
soon, because next
Okay, I will
week
try.
it will appear.
There is a mail, yes?
Yes, there is a mail.
But you've been in touch via email or How did you get in touch? Oh, telephone.
I wrote you on Facebook, but
Well, don't like all these new communications. I'm an old man. So as Mamonov, no internet.
So next year you are in the village. No radio show anymore. Get some horses.
Too old for the horses. I can.
No, there are also small ones.
Ponies.
There's a saying in Germany, life is no pony yard, you know.
can you write me your email address?
Yes, I will write. Okay.
And your radio show, is it only specialized in Russian music, or you play
Russian music,
only Russian? All right.
Because all other music on my radio station is Western hits, and only my program. And there are several songs in Troitsky working on the same radio.
Because I thought first like we could send you some stuff from this. This is very funny. This band Feeling Bay, which was the band before Rammstein. They made a funny cover version of a famous Komsomol track, which is about like pilots. It's like unrestful youth.
Ah, you showed me.
Yeah, I showed you.
I didn't know.
You didn't know it.
Didn't
So
know.
it's really. And Rammstein are always playing it live when they're in Russia. So,
Thank you. Roxavan.
Yes, and Evgeny Gapeyev had a great archive with photos, especially with music.
alright, still gonna read
You
them.
have the contact? This again.
No, I just have the name.
Kavriga is
Kavriga knows
they're
the
like
Yevgeny
brothers.
I'll say it
Gapeyev.
together. So
Together.
write down and let's ask
Yeah, yeah.
Kavriga about.
Kavriga Yevgeny Gapeyev.
Yes, archive specialist.
Yeah, yeah.